Our next tech chat, and the last of the tech chat series before we go into our venture capital dealmaker panel, Edith Yeung of Bright Ventures and also Dolphin Browsers is going to be doing the moderating for this session. And she's going to be interviewing a very famous Beijing-based entrepreneur, Xin Ye, founder and CEO of CASEE, and he's got a really illustrious career as a CTO and some of the biggest high-tech companies in China. So I'm really looking forward to hearing this tech chat. So Edith, take it away, please. Thank you. Sit next to one another.
Do we have to? Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
We actually met, I think a few years ago at Mobile World Congress, so great to see you again.
Oh, thank you. Good to see you.
Before we start, I just want to get a better understanding of our audience tonight. How many of you are investors? You probably don't know. Okay. How many of you are mobile app developers? Okay, some of you. How many of you are interested in going and either grow your business in China? Okay, a little bit more. So thank you for coming tonight. I think tonight we definitely have an expert that have done all of the above, including probably raising some money and created your companies in China. But before we get started on learning more about what's the Chinese app market, why don't you tell us a little bit about CASEE?
So good to be back in the Valley. Thanks, Rebecca, for inviting me, and good to see you. So CASEE is one of the largest mobile ad network. We started in 2008, about the same time AdMob started in the US. Our primary service is to help brands and mobile games and application companies to promote their service through our reach of over 600 million and more smartphone users on Android and iOS. And we help application developers and media companies generating revenue by bringing these advertisers to their media. And we do a revenue share with them.
So for some of you may or may not know, there's, I would say China is primarily more Android focused. So your mobile ad network, what's the split between Android and iOS?
Yeah, it's about 60% Android and 40% iOS. But I may also want to mention that I had this conversation with the Google Android team when I visited China. I said, the Chinese Android market in China, which is called Android Shichang, is actually not Google. I said, really? I said, and by the way, there are like 5, 6 Android markets, so it's a very, very fragmented marketplace. So if you want to promote your application, here you just submit to Google Play or the App Store for iOS. In China, you have to submit to many different Android markets. And so promoting it, even you have the marketing dollars, is a huge challenge. And how do you promote and track?
So I've been hearing all these different, between sort of Baidu, the 9-1 market, which by the way, Baidu bought them for $1.9 billion. And 360 Qihoo, they're sort of the top two, right? Which, if you would sort of educate us a little bit, if we just want to spend our energy on let's say top 3, who would that be?
Yeah, so let's just talk about Android first. So if you have a very popular app and you want to promote in China, and you have, fresh funding from Tim Draper's DFJ fund or Mayfield or Sequoia, how do you do it? Well, you can go to Google's, Google Play, but you don't have a lot of Google Play users in China because of a number of reasons. So then you go to different application stores. You mentioned the Qihoo 360 store, and there's a Tencent store, and there's a Baidu store. So in terms of the top 3, you would go to Qihoo, and you would go to the Baidu91.com, and you would also go to Tencent App Store. And you have PC, synchronization software like Wandoujia, which is a snow pea, backed by DCM, very popular. And so then they only cover limited number of users, even you have the money. Because remember, application stores have limited space to promote, even you have the money. So ad networks like CASEE, we would help you to promote your applications through the banner ads and through other form of advertising to help you drive download. In addition, we also we invest in a company that has an incentive advertising model, which is called Offer Wall. So in addition to the app stores and ad network like us, you can also promote through incentive advertising. How many of you here know about Tapjoy and incentive advertising? Okay, so briefly, incentive advertising, which was started by a company called Tapjoy in the US, allow you to promote your applications through an offer. So a user who's playing a game, he has to pay money to play the game, or he can download an application or ad to get the money to play. So that's called incentive advertising. That's a very, very popular way.
So one other thing, since we're in a Chinese event, which I think you will agree, one other thing, I think Chinese people have a hard time saying the word app. So whenever I go to China, it would say APP, like APP store. I'm like, what's APP? And then I realized it was app.
Yeah.
So let's say I just raised some money from Tim, and now I'm actually ready to buy try some install via, how much are you going to charge me? How much is it, like a CPI, cost per install these days?
Okay,
in China?
so the Chinese market, as you probably know, is a very, it's not an early market. It's a very, very challenging market, very, very demanding market. So advertisers pay not only for click and download, but actually for action. So commonly known as CPA. So the difference between CPI and CPA is this. So CPI is simply you download and install the application. But action, the CPA is you download, install, you actually register, you actually play, a few steps. So the definition is very different. So the price for Android for games is about anywhere from 4 to 8 RMB, which is about 50 cents to about $1.02 for Android. For iOS, it's anywhere from 8 RMB to about 20 RMB. So that's about $1.2 to about a little over $3.
So that's getting really expensive. It's now like 50-60% of what we would pay in the US, maybe even more.
Yeah.
Does it actually make money?
Well,
game developers make money in China?
Tim was talking about investing in China, and I was catching up with him on some of the early time stories. But now the Chinese market valuation is very, very high. I mean, I have experience with US VCs who haven't invested in China, thinking like, their typical model that doesn't work in China anymore. I'll just give you 2 examples. 2 of the mobile health company just recently raised about, $50 million. This company called Trinity Doctor, which allow one-to-one communication through mobile application between the user and the doctors. Huge valuation. And the game companies, I mean, you look at the pure mobile publisher company that went IPO in the US, the only one is from China, which is called Ledou Mobile, based in Shenzhen.
But just because they raised $50 million doesn't mean that the user are actually paying for it, right? So what would you say the recent, like ARPU for most of the game developer that you work with? Is it comparable to the US or Japan?
It's not, it's still lower in terms of ARPU value, which is for people who are not familiar with the industry's average revenue per user is lower. But you made up by a huge number of users. So end of the day, you still have a pretty good sizable business.
All right. So, I talked to a lot of mobile developers, let's say in the US, I think, a lot of people would be pretty happy if they get, 10 or 20,000 install a day. If I have the money and you can spend as much as, you want to. How much install are we talking about per day?
10,000, that's like very small. I give you an example. My top advertisers, my top 10 to 20, they can get about 200,000 Android new users a day.
Nice.
Yeah. So popular apps can get at least somewhere around 50,000 to 100,000 users a day. When I talk about 200,000 users a day, that's the top, really top tier, like the Tencent and those type of vendors' applications.
I guess we're running out of time. One last question.
Sure, go ahead.
I have a lot of pressure to ask for one last question. Since this is the last question, so let's say, just quick tips, 3 tips for the audience here. If they're really, really new to this market, other than they have to come and talk to you, what would be some of the things that we should think about before we go into the Chinese app market?
I think they need to have a local operation team in China because of the speed and because of the user requirements. I think number 2 is they should look for user growth rather than immediate revenue opportunities because most of the companies from automobile to whatever, they invest first. But once you have a sizable business, once you have enough users and eyeballs, your revenue is not going to be a problem. It's going to be a huge revenue market.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you.